me do the intro this week.
Don't make me do this.
Do it.
I don't know what to say.
Just
Hello,
do it.
people. Welcome to Kyle and Cody's Cult Cinema Cast. I'm Cody.
I'm Kyle.
Yeah. This week we're doing Batman v Superman. The Snyder Cut. That's as enthusiastic as we're gonna get. I don't know what you want from me.
I was assuming you were gonna make some crack about me making you do this.
I mean, here's the thing. I've probably thought about how I personally would have done this introduction probably about, I don't know, 100 times over the last like half a year since we've been doing this, and all of a sudden you're putting me on the spot. I don't like it.
Well, it's the finale. We gotta give the audience something special.
That's all you get.
So yeah, why are we doing this? Why are we doing any of this? Were we put into this world just to suffer? No, I actually like this movie, so that's I was referencing Metal Gear Solid 5 for some reason. Good game. Not terribly relevant here.
No.
So why are we doing this? Well, this is a sort of finale to our sub-theme of the season, first of all. This is because this movie won Worst Picture for the 2016 Girl and Raspberries. Or wait, no, hold on. This film didn't win Worst Picture. That dishonor was taken on by Dennis D'Souza, noted fucking liar and propagandist. Basically, he made a documentary about how Hillary Clinton's evil because she's serving in a party founded by Donald Trump's favorite president, because this is what the Trump presidency has done to Republicans. But enough about D'Souza. Like forever, we don't need to ever talk about him again, and we probably shouldn't just talk about him again. Just if he'd just go away, that'd be fine. Anyway, so yeah, this didn't win Worst Picture. It didn't win Worst Director. It didn't win Worst Actor. And didn't win Worst Actress. Those again went to the film that I'm not going to name anymore. It won Worst Supporting Actor for Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Worst On-Screen Combo with Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. Worst Prequel, Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel. Worst Screenplay, which I feel the documentary, which was literally making things up out of easily... The documentary that's not a documentary that's making things up out of easily disprovable facts would probably be more worthy of worst screenplay, but they needed to give they needed to pick on them a little bit.
I mean, it was the 7th highest grossing film of 2016 behind Captain America Civil War, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, Finding Dory, Zootopia, and it lost to The Jungle Book.
I mean, most of those are good movies, to be fair. I've never seen Finding Dory, but I like most of those.
Finding Dory is all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
I mean, it's no Finding Nemo.
I imagine. Yeah, it just didn't hold my interest so much. I'm not a big, really not that big a Pixar fan. I watched The Incredibles, and that's pretty much it. Like Incredibles and like original Toy Story. I've never rewatched any of the sequels. I don't think I even seen the third one or fourth one. But enough about that.
I mean, there's the original Incredibles had a lot to do with this superhero craze, where they're like,
yeah,
we need to shut down all the superheroes because they are doing undetrimented damage to our infrastructure, saving people's lives. And
yeah, I suppose it's probably the superhero part's probably the reason it's the only one I've really followed all the way through, and I like those movies for the most part. So yeah, that's why we're doing this.
The second one was the like it.
I liked it. Okay, but yeah, reason why we're doing this is because it's kind of like our finale for the sub theme, and there's another reason. because I have heard people bitch about this movie for 5 goddamn years. And not like in like comic book relevant discussions. Like just out of nowhere, I'll be like watching like some dumb Magic the Gathering podcast or something, and I'm just like, oh yeah, we taken 5 minutes out of our day to talk about how Batman v Superman sucks again, and it's been following
Yeah, but
around.
have we taken 5 minutes out of our day to talk about how Batman v Superman sucks?
Well, we're gonna take like an hour and a half to go
Oh,
about it.
probably longer.
Either way,
This was a 3-hour long movie.
yeah, I like my movies long, unless
3-hour long
Michael Bay
extended
makes
cut,
them.
I guess.
Yeah, 2.5 hour original cut, which was we're not reviewing the theatrical cuts because let's be frank, you're not going to make me review the Blade Runner with the voiceover at the beginning or whatever time studios butchered a product so they could promote further later movies instead of putting in stuff that's relevant to the plot, you know.
Would you like to go there?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, I'm just saying this is they clearly did like here's the short of it. They took out a bunch of like for the theatrical cut. They took out a bunch of the stuff that explained why things were actually happening in the movie and explained a good deal of like character motivation and stuff in order to put in more dream sequences that were very confusing and bad and like stuff that promoted later movies. Like if we're being perfectly honest, if we're cutting stuff, we maybe cut all the dream sequences and the Flash cameo. I think that would be for the best.
See, Marvel did it right. If they were setting something up for a later series, they were putting it in the post-credit cutscenes.
Not that I watched those.
Which cut down on runtimes. What?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I never stay for them. Unless I'm like with
friends. You don't
friends.
sit around at the end of the series like...
No, they announced these movies like 4 movies in advance. They announced these films like 4 years in advance. I know what's coming next.
So?
And they don't even like reveal like... Yeah, and they don't even reveal what's happening in the next movie half the time. The fucking one from the end of Homecoming was promoting the Scorpion. He didn't end up in Homecoming 2.
I don't even think I watched the end cutting season. That Homecoming...
Okay. And like half of the time it's just bullshit too. Because it's just like stuff in it. Like the one from like Guardians just had Howard the Duck in it. And he's never going to show up in any of these movies again, let's face it.
That we know of. Yeah. He could get a reboot.
I mean, you're welcome to. I'm welcome to be wrong on this, but
I mean, Shazam got a...
Hey, Shazam was like the most... There's an alternate universe where Shazam's just the biggest superhero in the world. And he was in like World War II. It's just that DC assumed them to oblivion.
Oh?
Yeah. Yeah, no, Shazam, or Captain Marvel as he was called at the time, had overtaken Superman in sales. In fact, like the spin-off book Captain Marvel Jr. was also the best-selling comic book at the time for a little bit. And then DC took that as a threat and then sued their asses off, and then combined that with the end of World War II and a downtrend in the number of sales in comics, and that sowed the end for Fawcett Comics, which was the company in charge of making Captain Marvel at the time. Years later, DC buys up the rights, and here we are. But I mean, if that didn't happen, yeah, and if that hadn't happened, if that had kept on if it weren't for legal trouble, maybe there's a history where Captain Marvel's just the biggest superhero in the world forever. I mean, obviously that's a very different timeline, but
I'm confused. Who sued who?
DC sued Fawcett Comics.
Okay, but why didn't Marvel sue Fawcett Comics?
I don't think they were called Marvel at the time.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes
sense. I think Marvel Marvel is, I think, maybe the 50s or 60s name for the company, and there was like a
Mhm.
Marvel Comics, but that was like one of their anthology books. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, they wouldn't have been involved in this late at that point. It comes a little later where they change the name to Marvel.
Okay.
But yeah, Shazam's like really is, if not for like a lack of like iconic stories in the grand scheme of things, is probably like one of the best superheroes of all time.
I just feel he's death bait in most comic books.
Shazam?
Well, he's got that really
Yeah.
he's got that super or Spider-Man type esque like, oh, if you really wanted to kill a superhero, you kill Spider-Man because he's so young, right? And from
Yeah, I
that,
see.
people kill him off a lot more than they would in alternate universes or flashpoints
Yeah,
or
I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think I don't know if like I don't know, Joe Shuster was writing Shazam comics in 1980 instead of Superman, I think maybe we're in a very different world. And I'm
oh,
mildly interested what that would be like. Yeah. And anyway, enough about
well,
Shazam being incredibly underrated. It's a good movie, by the way. You should watch it. It's like probably worthy of being a classic.
I still haven't
You
watched
should.
it.
It's really good.
Maybe that's what I'll do tonight.
It's like an old it's like one of those old-timey. Yeah, it's like one of those old-timey not old-timey, but like older PG movies where they could get away with it a bit more, you know? Like the characters
Well,
swear a
does it not
bit,
have an
they
R
make
rating?
yeah. Shazam? No, no, it's PG-13, I'm sure.
No.
Or PG even.
Ah,
Shazam?
huh. Yeah.
No, it's pretty good. Anyway,
There's a couple ones I haven't watched. Just Shazam, Captain Marvel, the new Hellboy.
you don't need to watch the new Hellboy. It's worse.
Is it worse than the
Just watch the
like?
old
I
one.
love Ron Perlman's like Hellboy because
Yeah,
Ron
no,
Perlman did a
it's
really
not
good
nearly
job.
as good. No, the new Hellboy is
Yeah.
just like him arguing with his dad a lot, and it's like, ugh, it's not very good. Oh, and the fucking end credits stinger for that was just like, oh, we're gonna introduce Abe Sapien. You know, the character you can get in the old movies, which are better.
I liked Dave in the
It's like,
old
why?
movies. He did.
Exactly. It's like, why are you tempting me with something I already have? Is my point.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, go to the sequel of my movie, and then you'll see something that you have in those old movies, which are better than my movie.
Well, who directed this one?
I have no idea.
I know Tyler or my brother wanted to like definitely watch it just because he liked the director, but I can't.
Yeah, I didn't really care for it. The old ones are better. Also, Guillermo del Toro is a great director.
Yeah.
So yeah. Basically, I'm reviewing this because this is my. I've had to listen to the internet complain about this movie for 5 years. I get to talk good about it for like an hour after 5 years. This is my treat for doing 25 episodes of a podcast and finding a reason to justify it. So yeah, I think that's got our basis. I'm not gonna go over the score.
Critical responses?
They're bad to mediocre.
Yeah. 28 on Rotten Tomatoes, 4.93 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Metacritic gave it a B.
Yeah,
Nope,
I don't know.
Cinema
It's
Score.
one of those things. I don't think the audience that likes it is a billion-dollar audience. I think is the first thing. Like, I think there's like a particular type of audience that likes it. That's like wanting something a little different from at least occasionally from the standard superhero films. And a lot of people are walking in wanting what the Marvel films give, which is fun, but sometimes it's just being dumb for no reason. And DC does produce good films. They've just always been a bit hit and miss sometimes. Like, I mean, like only like two of the stuff does. And it also clashes with some people's ideas of what like the characters are. One of the big things is like there's like, oh yeah, Superman's not smiling enough, and I'm like, yeah, but like this is capturing a very specific moment in time, and I don't know that the film affords him the opportunity to do some of that silly stuff or the be more cheerful. And I think the film has a particular point to make, which makes this defensible, which I'll get into, but it doesn't catch with what people want in a Superman movie, which is, I guess, the 70s one, which is not all that great. It's all right sometimes. And then there's like the portrayal of Batman. People find it's a lot of murder going on. Um, on that note, Zack Snyder has like put on paper that like he doesn't understand why Luke Skywalker can kill people and be a hero, and Batman can't kill people. Which I understand where he's coming from. I sort of disagree, but I'd rather him not have an understand. I'd almost rather him not have an understanding of it, rather than make up some dumb bullshit like all the comics usually do. Like I've seen some like really bad comic book explanations for why Batman doesn't kill people or doesn't use guns, and they're almost always off the mark. So I'd almost rather he not embarrass himself by making some dumb excuse why not to.
You know, when it boils down to it, I think the rule of Batman not killing people stems from really early comic book writings in the
True.
19, I don't know, 50s. I don't know
Yeah,
exactly when
fifth.
Batman started.
Yeah. Well, 50s is when that would have taken off. And this is kind of like we've come to a point where like we're starting to kind of drift away from that old hard and fast rule. The only like it's only really stuck with Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. And a few other guys. But a lot of superheroes have actually softened up on their no killing rule. Even ones that are really big Paragon heroes. But I think it does still have, yeah.
But if like Mr. Incredible like snapped somebody's neck, I'm pretty sure we'd have an
Oh
issue
yeah,
with
exactly. This is
it.
it's like what was in Superman. What you know? What's funny about the Truth, Justice, and the American Way, which was made into Superman versus the Elite movie? They there is still a place for this pacifist, no killing approach to superheroes, and it should not be completely abandoned. And I think that it's easier for a lot of writers to go to ease up on it, but I don't know in all cases they should, and I don't know that in Batman's case they should. But your someone's in the audience going to say, but Kyle, if you don't believe that Batman should kill and Batman kills in this movie, then why do you like the movie? Because here's my interpretation: what we see in this movie is a fallen Batman, much like what like we get in like Injustice, where we get the fallen Superman, where like he's lost his way and has started killing people. And I think there's occasionally a time to tell that story, and particularly one where Batman just doesn't go full supervillain. Like he's still fighting crime. He's just do doing it in a very bad and destructive way. And
But
people follow him. Yeah. Go ahead.
sorry, I was gonna ask you, does Batman actually ever go full supervillain? Like every time I see a big story about like DC arcs, it's always about like Superman going, "I'm gonna rule the world now and enslave the human race," and you know,
Yeah, that's part of my thing. Batman scarcely does. I think there's a few occasions where he gets like, but where it's like, usually something's infected him. Like,
mhm.
the Batman who laughs in recent DC comics is an example of Batman turning evil, where he's been like infected by some foreign object and that has made him evil. They've turned him into a vampire this couple times. Whereas this movie, I figure it explores like why Batman, the man, would go down a dark road and puts pathos to the idea that Batman has a bit of a slippery slope scenario with himself, where he realizes in a lot of works where like if I start doing this, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stop, because he's always been a bit, or at least in the modern interpretation, has always been a bit morally, mentally unstable in places. So we don't really get too many examples of where Batman turns evil, and I think this is an example of that. Because I think he is evil in that. And evil in this case doesn't mean supervillain, it means fascist. And I don't know that like Zack Snyder believes in this vision for the character, or in this believes in this vision of the movie, but it's my vision of the movie. And I think there is some, at least some, gratis to my, or whatever, to my interpretation of it.
So we've talked to you about quickly here Batman as a character. And with that being said, what would your interpretation be of Ben Affleck's character, Batman? Because right now they've already announced Robert Pattinson as the next Batman. I've watched the trailer; it looks semi-promising. How did Ben Affleck's performance hold up for you?
I like it. Like there were doubts, but I don't think these were ever particularly strongly based in reality. Because like Ben Affleck's a talented actor, he can pull this off if he wants to. I think there was some worry about like he has done bad performances, but bad performances are usually teamed with bad directors, especially after like an actor proves he can also do good acting. So I think this did pick up. And he is playing an older Batman in this, which I think is how I see this is like we see in this movie the Jason Todd Robin costume. I think in someone's in that said that like that's actually a Dick Grayson Robin costume and he's taking a thing. Doesn't matter. It's the same principle. But in this view, I view it as like the crossroads at like the beginning of the Batman Returns comic, or the Dark Knight Returns comic. When Robin dies in the Dark Knight Returns, Batman quits. In this, when Robin dies, Batman becomes more fascistic and goes down a very dark path. And I think that's a valid thing to explore. And Batman isn't this incorruptible creature that will always be a paragon. And I don't think people get that a lot of the time. They treat him like he's Superman because we have problems sometimes. It's hard to explain. And I think it's very nice that we get a chance for Superman to knock Batman out of his funk for once, instead of Batman always trying to call Superman out on his stuff. Because I think Superman very much is the hero that is very much the hero of this story, and we get our version of him trying to figure it out. And I think a good bit of the drama from it is that this Superman hasn't quite got to a point where he can solve all his problems yet. Like he has the power, but he hasn't yet quite become the man of tomorrow. He hasn't become that moral paragon which we are to follow. And
yeah,
I've seen a lot of people are like, I like that we're getting the evil Batman versus good Superman thing. We've had lots of evil Supermans versus good Batman things. And I think a lot of the evil Superman betrayals are a lot more out of character than this is as a Batman betrayal. Like I think Injustice is a terrible interpretation of Superman. I think.
Batman's always the contingency plan. If any of the Justice League ever go astray, he has to be the one that has I can't remember which comic book it was because I'm not up to speed on DC Comics, but Batman has a file on every member of the Justice League to dispose of them if the need ever arises, right? So
yeah.
With that being said, this is a post Justice League. You don't really see the full extent of a fight between Batman and Superman because Batman doesn't know that much on Superman yet.
Yeah, and this is actually a very interesting interpretation of the universe, because Batman has been the lone superhero for a long time in this. Like, he's been around for years, and Superman has, in the long run, just shown up like 3 years ago.
And just heard of him.
So, yeah, so it's a very different way of doing this. In the comics, a lot of the superheroes start appearing vaguely the same time, at least in terms of the time span in which we get comics. But it's very interesting to see a universe where, okay, no, these guys don't come at the same time. Batman's been around for years, and Superman is a newcomer. And it's an interpretation, version of events we haven't seen before.
It also takes into the account that if we're going off of an older Batman, that Batman also wasn't fighting at his prime. If we're taking the guess that Batman's in his late 50s or early 50s,
early to mid,
maybe early 40s, but also that's never stated.
Yeah, they don't. They say he says he's older than his father was when his father died. So that could be anything between. Yeah, that could be anything between. His dad could have been anywhere between 30 and 40. So there's no way to really tell. It depends on. I suppose they show Thomas and Martha Wayne's tombs in this. I could look that up. I suppose I could look that up. I just don't really feel like it. But yeah, this is kind of an aged. It's I don't think he's quite as old as this as he was in Dark Knight Returns. But yeah, we get a very different version of it. Anyway,
that might have been actually one of the only comic books that I've read in the Batman series.
Yeah, early Frank Miller can be good. Those are some of the foundational works for Batman.
Which Batman had the female Robin?
There's been 2 female Robins, one in The Dark Knight Returns, which is the Frank Miller piece we've been talking about a lot. And then there's also a Stephanie Brown female Robin, which was a thing in the early 2000s for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, just for a little bit. I think she got beat up pretty bad and taken out of the picture for a little bit. She got better.
Yeah, so I definitely think it was the Dark Knight Returns that I've read.
Yeah, Dark Knight Returns was Carrie Kelly, who's a ginger-haired girl, and then Stephanie Brown was early 2000s, and blonde.
Okay.
And that was just in the regular series. So, do we want to get into the plot?
Yeah.
So the movie opens to a dream sequence where Bruce has a flashback to his parents' murder and runs off during their burial procession and ends up in a pit in one of the mini caverns around Wayne Estate. And then he gets raised up to bats toward the light, which is I think these dream sequences by and large are pretty bad for the movie. I don't really care for them. I think this one represents Batman's view of himself, I guess, which says a lot about Batman's bad state of mind in this. We get our next scene of essentially This is Bruce Wayne showing up in Metropolis to go check on his business dealings in Metropolis during the battle at the end of Man of Steel, which was between Superman and Zod.
Yes.
Which had become a bit of a big sticking point for a lot of people in the fucking internet who figured that this is bad, bad Supermaning, that there's a bunch of destruction in the city. Superman should be like doing everything he can to bring Zod out of the city so they can fight in a less secure area, more secure area where people won't get killed. I don't like that. I don't like any of these collateral damage arguments, especially when I'm supposed to take them seriously. It's fine when someone bitches about it in the comics, because you can write them off as some douche, but I don't like that criticism of Superman's actions. First of all, the fight was in Metropolis. I mean, Superman's thing is he's a superhero who fights people in Metropolis and sometimes space. This isn't Dragon Ball Z. We're not taking him into the desert to fight on dumb little pillars. So, yeah. Also, alien invasion. The world was going to be destroyed if Superman wasn't there. It's kind of like blaming the fireman for the fire. And occasionally a fireman has to break down a door with an axe. And yeah, that seems dismissive toward all the people that died in that attack, but in terms of the entire world getting exterminated, it's a door and a fire. You knock it down with an axe. And I'm saying you should try to avoid that, because this analogy isn't one-to-one. Those people we should attempt to save those people, but I'm not going to call it a big failing on Superman's part that people died in this alien invasion. And it really bugs me, especially like in the Marvel movies where they made this into a big deal, where, we're supposed to be so sad because the alien invasion resulted in collateral damage and we're going to pit it all on the superheroes, which piss off. But yeah, Batman reacts negatively to this because his building gets brought down and the guy inside of it is an idiot who doesn't go anywhere. I mean, these could have been easily solved by like the Jack character who dies just having this monologue in a stairwell on his way out of the building, and then no one asks any questions. But no, we had to be looking out a window. We couldn't afford another set, I guess. So yeah. So Batman saves a couple people's lives. He saves a little girl. He gets a girder off one character's legs, who's going to appear later in the movie.
I'd like to point out that this isn't Batman. You said Batman saves people's lives. It wasn't Batman. It was Bruce Wayne.
I mean, I'll reference the Batman Beyond episode where he says that's not. Yeah,
I'm just saying
I know what you're
Batman
saying.
would have saved more lives because he would actually be able to lift shit. This guy like struggled to lift a girder and then was like carrying
like
around
18-ton girder.
I don't know.
Yeah, like a 5-ton girder, probably attached to other girders. So actually, he's probably lifting tons of weight all by his lonesome. So this is mildly impressive.
He wasn't by his lonesome. So many people came in to help him.
Yeah, it's a giant girder. It's a piece of a giant ass building, Cody.
I'm just saying the 50-year-old who went toe to toe with Superman could have saved more lives.
In a mech suit.
In a mech suit, exactly. Why doesn't he have a mech suit?
Maybe he hasn't built it yet.
Like, why? That's what I liked about Tony Stark, right? In Marvel Comics, Tony Stark always had a suit on hand. If something went down, he was prepared, he was ready. And I'm just saying, this is Batman we're talking about, the most prepared person in the DC universe, and he wasn't prepared for this.
I mean, he could have brought in the Batmobile, I guess.
Yeah, but like even most comic book or most movie interpretations of Batman's vehicle that he drives on a daily basis has some capability of transforming itself into the Batmobile.
Anyway, um, so eventually, after he's consoling this little girl whose mom was in one of the buildings that died, he just stares angrily at Superman, as he's flying through the sky fighting Zod, who is very difficult, who is very powerful, and it probably would have been difficult to get him out of the city either way. And like even you could have, I'm sure it's I'm sure it's easy to take a Superman and then drag him out of city limits against his will when he's intent on fighting you in the middle of a city. I'm sure that's an easy thing to do that we should just give him shit for not doing.
Well, even at that, if General Zod knew anything about Superman, I didn't watch Man of Steel, or I did, and then it's been so long since I've rewatched it. Man of Steel is young Superman, right?
It's like 3 years before this, so it's I think
So yeah,
Superman's only supposed to be like college age or a little over college age.
what I'm saying though is if General Zod wanted Superman distracted, I'm assuming the easiest way to do that is fight him in a city where he could potentially trying to be fighting him and also maintaining the city's structures and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like if that's maybe not a thing that like young Superman is prepared to do, like beat up Zod and also save the city, because
Yeah.
that's a hard thing to do.
Hmm.
All right, so that's where that is. This is actually a pretty weak scene in the movie. It's a lot of weirdly set up stuff, and yeah. Anyway, so we get we transfer out to a scene in Africa where oh no, we cut to a scene in the Indian Ocean where some divers haul a big rock out of the ocean, which is chipped open to reveal a big ass chunk of kryptonite. Cue title card. So they're introducing kryptonite in this movie, which turned out pretty
Yeah.
well, I think. Yeah, kryptonite's used pretty fancily in this movie. I think it makes good use of it.
Hmm.
Normally they just like, oh, it's a rock that I'm going to hold up to him, or oh, I've shaped it into a bullet. Where this is just a little bit different. Like it makes different uses of the substance, which I like. Next, we get a scene in Africa, in Nairobi, Africa, in which Lois Lane shows up in shows up to interview this African warlord guy or terrorist. Turns out her cameraman is a CIA spy who has lured American soldiers to the area. He gets compromised when a Russian guy, who is actually KG Beast, out of costume, because of course he's out of costume. I don't go to superhero movies to see supervillains in costumes. What is this? What is this, a fun movie? What is this, a superhero movie? Get that costume out of here. Anyway, KG Beast takes up breaks apart the CIA spy's camera, who is posing as Lois's photographer, and reveals a tracking chip. This ends in the CIA agent getting shot, and Lois getting dragged into a central compound in the town where they're staying. Now, you may have noticed that the sound, I mentioned some American soldiers. Those weren't in the theatrical cut. Like I said, we're viewing the ultimate cut because it's the better version of the movie. And I don't have to acknowledge a inferior version of a product if I have the better version. It's on DC. It's on Warner Brothers for not making this more widely distributed. And I'm not here to criticize Warner Brothers marketing or distribution scale. And it's probably not very good, but whatever. I'm not here to do that today.
Today.
Yeah. Another time, maybe. So, the American soldiers say they got to go in to extract Lois because she's innocent, and they're planning to drone strike the place. But the American government sends in a drone anyway, and Superman shows up and flies through the drone and goes to take care of the terrorist who is about to do bad things to Lois Lane. Meanwhile, KG Beast and his cronies have turned on the terrorist men, or the warlords men, whatever, and have started killing them. This leads to them setting them on fire so that Superman will get blamed for the killings. Meanwhile, Superman manages to rescue Lois Lane from the warlord. This leads into a scene in a courtroom in which a character named Ziri, who claims to be a relative of people in the village, or who claim to live in the village, recounts that Superman has murdered everyone in the village and killed a bunch of people. She makes a point that Superman answers to no one, not even, she thinks, to God, because the senator in charge is out to try and do something about the issue of Superman in the real world, which is a big theme in the movie about how humanity will react to Superman being a thing. Thoughts?
Yeah, just I get where they're coming from, and I guess Superman acting without any form of autonomy is an issue in itself. He just took out an African warlord. I don't exactly know what defines a warlord.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't even know if warlord's the right term.
But how do you yeah, I've got nothing for that.
Yeah, no, it's
How do you regulate a man who just can't be regulated? He's gonna do what he wants.
yeah. Reasonably speaking, that's I think a question that would have the senator June, I think is her name. Yep, June. I think that's the issue that has Senator June wanted to talk this out with Superman, and why she's driving hard on this, especially in light of this apparent this apparent raid on this African village. Which I'll point out, the American government was also going to blow up this village. To be fair, they had sent a drone there. And
Yeah,
that, you can't tell me that would have killed less people.
but what I'm saying is the US government still has to answer to international affairs.
I mean, except all the times they don't.
I mean, yes, if we're gonna get into semantics, yes, they would have to answer to international affairs, unless A, they're proxying this warlord,
I mean, they
or
blow up things, and I mean, they do this sort of drone strike thing all the time, to be fair.
I'm never gonna argue that the U.S. United States is ever doing the right thing, but what I'm saying is they at least have somebody to answer to.
In
Like,
theory. In practice, a little
we'll
less
go
so,
to,
but yeah, in theory.
well, we'll talk about something a little different here. Take two different sides of the coin, right? In Zack Snyder's The Watchmen, all the other superheroes were outlawed, and only a handful of people were acting superheroes within the United States. Arguably, at least from my understanding, Dr. Manhattan, who absolutely probably has the ability to act without autonomy because, I mean, he just blows things up if he doesn't want to, or if he wanted to, right? Like,
Yeah.
they've regulated Dr. Manhattan. That's all I'm saying is why couldn't they regulate Superman?
And to be fair, and to your point, they regulated Superman and The Dark Knight Returns, so because he was fighting for the American military and that too. So I think you have a point there.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, we could talk about, like, okay, Superman doesn't have to do anything they say, but he might, which is the question. And there's always the question of the government telling him when to act and when not to act. And I think that's not a unfair thing to ask about, because
Because the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Superman just flew into a South African village for literally no other purpose but to save Lois Lane. Now, arguably, he also took out a warlord, which the South African government might be happy for or very much so against.
yeah, yeah, that's a weird thing. Anyway, let's move on to the Batman plot. We see Batman go into his Batcave in this, which is a bit of a halfway point between the Christian Bale Batcave and a more comics accurate Batcave, where there's cave stuff, but there's a lot of technology involved, and a lot of it is on the surface of stuff. Um, so a bit of a halfway point between that. Oh wait, we missed a thing. So Batman has I'm just gonna skip over the Batman. I'm gonna skip over Batman's first appearance where he or in the movie where or in suit in the movie where he saves a bunch of people. He's chasing after some people on the way to a KG beast. Whatever. We see him enter the Batcave, and we see Alfred messing with some Batsuit stuff. Batman points out that he's trying to track down a thing called the White Portuguese, which is someone or something trying to sneak a dirty bomb into Gotham.
What do you define as a dirty bomb?
A radioactive. I don't know what a dirty bomb is actually. I assume it's just nuke. I assume it's just a nuke or like a fancy word for nuke. Perhaps like a just like an actual IED version of a nuke where it can be you can place it in a place within a city and then set it off, whereas like a nukes are usually dropped in a bomb or in like a from a plane or in a missile, which
Yeah.
are a little different. Anyway, after that, we're introduced to Lex Luthor, who is talking to the senator and another politician who's from, I think, Homeland Security or something. He wants to get an import license for the kryptonite that was recovered in India, so that he can have a silver bullet, so that the American government can have a silver bullet against Superman. The male senator agrees to give him, in the meantime, while they're talking about the permit, access to General Zod's body and also access to a wrecked Kryptonian ship which had crashed in Man of Steel. Next, we get our scene with the guy from the Metropolis scene that had been stuck under a girder. He is now a legless man in a wheelchair who has rolled up to a Superman monument and is climbing up it to spray paint False God on its chest.
Then they call for backup to take this guy off.
Yeah. The cops call for or security guards. Like, we watched the movie together. I brought up that maybe these guys are just security guards and they're not qualified to actually bring people down. So that might explain it. But it's a little weird that if these guys are cops, that they've called for backup to take care of this legless man.
And there was two of them.
Yeah, two of them. Granted, you might not be able to get him safely off the statue if that's your goal, because it is high. He could get hurt if he falls off it the wrong way.
That's fair.
So maybe that's it. But it's just a little bit of a silly scene if you're not thinking it over or without the full context, which we may not have. Bruce Wayne is in a fight club where he manages to sneak up next to KG Beast, who's also in the fight club, and uses his a fancy bat gadget to copy the KGB's phone so that he can get information on things. This eventually points out that the white Portuguese is bringing something to the Lex Luthor estate. So they are going to. He is going to use an invitation to one of Lex Luthor's fundraisers or a library opening in order to sneak up into Batman, in order to sneak into Lex Luthor's house in order to steal data on what the White Portuguese is, or what its deal is. Meanwhile, we cut back to Lex Luthor, who has having a conversation with Senator June, who reveals that she is going to block his import license for the kryptonite. He does a nice little speech about the Red Capes are coming, and he points to a paint. And he's really annoyed with her about this because he points out to her. He demonstrates this by pointing to a painting, the forces of heaven going to fight the forces of hell upon Judgment Day. It's a very beautiful painting, actually. And he says, that should be upside down, because we know the devils don't come from hell beneath. They come from above. And then they play nice little violin chords, and the music in this is actually very good.
At that point in time, I actually pointed out that Lucifer came from heaven. It's a very dumb analogy if you actually stop and really think about it.
Or it works for his analogy because Lucifer came from heaven, so he comes from above. It may not be he comes from above, and now it's our problem. I guess it kind of works. The army of hell doesn't come from, it comes from below, but yeah, that's anyway. Anyway, do you want to talk about a bit about Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal of Lex Luthor? I think now's the time to do it.
Yeah,
Razzie winning portrayal of Lex Luthor. Who
I don't know if they're that, because when this movie first came out, one of the things that one of the rumors I heard on speculation was that they were trying to get, what's his face, Bryan Cranston.
Oh yeah, that would have been a very
They were trying to get Bryan Cranston to come in and play Lex Luthor, and I think that would have been a pretty decent portrayal of the character. I think Bryan Cranston would have brought like his own idea behind the role too. Well, when we did the Jesse Eisenberg, the Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor, it just kind of felt like he was doing Jesse Eisenberg, right? He wasn't doing Lex Luthor. He was just doing Jesse Eisenberg.
Okay. So a few things. I like this better than Trump Luthor from season 3 of Young Justice, which I didn't really care for. That portrayal. I like the season. I just didn't care for that portrayal of Lex Luthor when they tried to make him into Trump, because Trump's a goofball and Luthor in that is a very serious person, so it doesn't really click. If you're gonna make Lex Luthor sound like any American president, you probably make him sound like Reagan. I think that maybe clicks the best. Maybe you could also go with Nixon, I suppose, but I don't know. Anyway, I kind of like this portrayal, actually. I think it's different, for one, and I think it works with I think the script favors this performance. I think if you brought in like Bryan Cranston or whoever, they would have had to do something very different with the script. I don't think you can do it exactly this way with another actor, which maybe isn't the worst thing. And there's stuff you could have cut out, like the Jolly Rancher scene could be ripped out of that, and no one would have lost anything.
There's a lot to say about maybe not, you could still keep the general idea behind the script and not have to fidget it with it too much.
Yeah. No, I'm saying the lines. The lines need to be changed.
I feel like Jesse Eisenberg takes this manic energy to the role where he's shoving things in people's mouths and he's kind of he has his idiosyncrasies within the show that I didn't exactly care for the character.
I think it favors his. I think this is more of like a very crazy Luthor, and that's not something we get as much. Where like Lex Luthor goes crazy, and normally it's not very good. Like this is this is less the in control Luthor, but he's actually nuts in this, and we don't get that as much. I like the portrayal because it kind of gives the game away that he's nuts, and we haven't really gotten a. And he does do all the Lex Luthor stuff. He's just not say physically intimidating like I don't know, whoever did the Superman Returns Lex Luthor. But I don't think Lex Luthor's really had like a amazing portrayal so far. Though there's only been 3 live action movie portrayals. I think maybe the Smallville one's done pretty good, but I do think there's room for this portrayal of Lex Luthor, and I did quite like it. I thought it worked for the movie. I don't know that we should keep him around in the DCU, but I don't know if I'd want to see him again, but I did think he did a good job in this.
Superman Returns Lex Luthor is played by Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, I didn't.
So we're definitely not bringing him back anytime soon.
No, yeah, he does an all right portrayal, but it's just kind of normal. Lois Lane has been interacting with another addition to the Ultimate Cut, which is a like a Pentagon forensic investigator who is examining a bullet which she recovered from her journal, which is revealed to be a prototype bullet, which is weird. I'm guessing it's a way of the design of the bullet was to dissolve after it hit in fire. I'm guessing is what happened, but I'm reaching a little bit because otherwise there's no reason to bring a fancy bullet into Africa in order to frame Superman, because I'm guessing the bullet's supposed to disappear somehow after it's used on people.
Yeah, no, that would make sense.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. So yeah, she's been having this examined, and she wants to go to Washington to dig up some dirt on this fancy bullet. She goes to meet the Secretary of Defense, who is a friend of hers from because in the her dad's a general, is the or was a general is the short version. I don't think he's in any of the DC movies so far, but in the comics, Sam Lane is a general, so that's how she knows the Secretary of Defense. She tries to get some answers out of him. Doesn't he accuses her of he accuses her of causing the incident by drawing Superman there. Short version. So Lex Clark Kent is sent on a beat to go cover the charity event that Lex Luthor is doing at the same time when Bruce Wayne goes to plant a bug in order to get some of Lex Luthor's data. Clark overhears Bruce's comlink going off, and this causes Clark to go talk to him because he's pretty much figured out that Bruce Wayne is Batman at this point, which is a fun little twist. I guess I kind of like how this worked. That he just kind of like, oh, this guy with superhero powers happens to be here, so I've been found out, which is interesting. Bruce Wayne sets up a device in order to hack Lex Luthor's system. But he has to go upstairs to go give it time to work. Yeah, Clark and Bruce kind of have a conversation. Clark asks Bruce about the Bat Vigilante in Gotham, who's been on a bit of a rampage as of late. In the beginning scene of the movie, he had branded a man, and Clark had also had an interview, had also tried to track down the woman who accused Superman of messing with that African village, but couldn't find her. So she he gets a bit of exposition about how Batman's been angrier than usual lately, and that he's been beating up people that he shouldn't be, or has been branding people and making it very bad. Apparently, the guys who get branded have been frequently killed in prison, so that's kind of a bad sign. And if Batman were totally in his right mind, he'd probably stop branding people at that point. But he's not, so he's still branding people because he's evil Batman in this movie. Let's fall into that. So Clark and Bruce have their little conversation.
You'd think, all I was going to say there is that you'd think if criminals going to, like, prison with a bat symbol, they'd, like, band together over that, not kill each other over that.
Well, I'm getting the impression that Batman is branding people like sex offenders and stuff, because the guy he brands at the beginning of the movie is smuggling a bunch of women, and if we're to like extrapolate a bit from that, and there's already a bit of a problem with various kinds of sex offenders getting killed in prison, and they're it happens fairly frequently. So I think that's probably what we can extrapolate.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I was just thinking of like common criminals, bank robbers, normal things.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing it to everyone. I think this is like a bad habit he's developed in certain circumstances. Much like a bit like how Rorschach started killing people. It starts slow at first and then it gets out of control. And I think he's in too dark a place to give a shit. So Bruce and Clark have their talk, and Lex comes by and is just like, "Oh, Bruce Wayne meeting Clark Kent. That is such a strange thing. I am not foreshadowing at all."
Clark Kent's not like this big known person. He's just a reporter for the Daily Planet.
Yeah,
right?
I suppose they could have interacted before, though. It's just a fun little. It's a fun little interaction, especially knowing the end of the movie.
Yes, but what I'm saying is it's only necessary within the context of this movie.
True.
Besides that, Lex Luthor's never going to walk up and be like, "Oh, Clark Kent, you must be doing an interview with Bruce Wayne here." Like, that makes more sense to me. Like, he's just like, "Oh, you two met." And then, okay.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, except for the foreshadowing.
Yes.
Though it was brought up that Lex did specifically request Clark Kent, so maybe you can report that he's a fan? Maybe? Clark starts following Bruce downstairs after he ditches their conversation to go recover his doohickey. Clark gets distracted halfway, though, when he sees a news bulletin on the Spanish language television that the Help is watching, and he's distracted and he goes to help a child in a burning building in Mexico. Meanwhile, Batman finds that his doohickey is gone and has been taken by this mysterious woman. So Superman goes to rescue this little kid, and we get a nice kind of symbolic scene where all these Mexican people who are in Cinco de Mayo makeup kind of reach out to touch him, and Superman kind of looks nervous about this. And I think, this has been confirmed by the director to be a allusion to the ghosts of the dead in the Battle of Metropolis still having an effect on Superman. Cinco de Mayo makeup, by the way, is skull makeup, essentially. For the listeners who don't know. It's fairly popular right now, but maybe in Europe, because we do have we have the odd non North American listener. But
Mhm.
yeah. So it's kind of like, this is why I don't write off this movie. There's an odd bit of decent foreshadowing, or a decent literary allusion and metaphor, which I kind of like, and it gives us a lot to think about. And I think there are multiple interpretations of this movie. I've obviously made a good chunk of mine clear, but I think it's a very interesting thing. I think this is very demonstrative of Superman's journey toward becoming the Man of Tomorrow, which is one of his famous nicknames. At this point, we get a bunch of news pieces about Superman and how he should be interacting with the world, and a lot of opinions are dropped out. A lot of people talking about how we should be treating him differently because he's basically a god, or and one guy's asking Senator June about, hey, would you be comfortable saying, hey, Superman could have saved your daughter, but we told him not to? And a lot of very interesting questions. The one that sticks out to me is one toward the end, where one of the speakers says, maybe he's not a messiah figure or a god figure or a devil figure. Maybe he's just a guy, and we were making the mistake of assigning him this divine like property. And I think that's the telling line from this section, is because Superman, we're assuming that Superman is a good guy and that he's prepared to be
Mhm.
this messianic figure. But realistically, he's a kid from a dying planet who's brought up in this world just like the rest of us. His parents aren't going to be able to, like, Joseph and Martha Kent are not super parents that could have raised any kid to be the perfect superhero if they had developed things. I think this is like, if you look at Man of Steel, Joseph Kent has probably some pretty bad ideas. Like, he tells Clark not to save people at several points. And I think this is kind of telling about their character in this, because which may make yeah, like, a lot of people have criticized, like, oh, why wasn't Joseph Kent all on board with him saving people? I think what Joseph Kent in this universe is probably worried about is Superman getting taken in by the government and dissected like they did to Elf,
Oh?
because this is a thing. Yeah, no, this is a thing we regularly talk about doing to aliens in our world, and it's a weird little trend that we thought, that we assume our government's so terrible, is like someone would crash land on our planet and be lost here all alone, and we take the opportunity to dissect him instead of trying to help him. Because frankly, if we're talking seriously, if someone has faster than light speed travel, you probably don't want to piss them off by killing one of their civilians, or any citizen of their interstellar civilization. I'm sure that would turn out great for us. I'm sure it's not as if killing advanced scouts has ever turned out bad for anybody in real life. Yes, I think this. My point is, Superman has to go through a journey to become Superman. Like, right now, he's wearing the cape, but he's not the Man of Tomorrow, this messianic figure. And I think this movie's one of its points is that the idea of a born messiah is a bit of a mythological idea, and it's not something that you have to practice and learn every day in order to become better, and that where people are born to be some people are born with the temperament to be heroes, some people are born without the temperament heroes. It's a journey you have to come to, like assuming that people are filling the roles they've been assigned is a bit of a mistake, I think, especially in this universe. Like the criticism of this is complaining that Batman isn't who he's supposed to be, and Superman isn't supposed who he's supposed to be. And I think the point is that you're not guaranteed to have people be who they're supposed to be, and you have to fight to fight and practice to keep things the way they need to be in order to fulfill what the world needs. That's the end of that speech. Do you want to say anything?
Um, point when you brought up the last person's testimony there, when you said that maybe he's just a guy that's out here trying to save people's lives. He's kind of the person that the world needs right now, and they're trying to take that away from him as much as they can because of the fear that he's going to eventually be something very different than what he already is. And he's continually come to the point that without somebody painting a different picture, in this case Lex Luthor, who's trying to paint him as a villain, he's never shown, besides mass destruction because of General Zod, there's always been some outside factor that has affected the way that the world has been seeing Superman, and nobody's acknowledging the fact that they're looking at things through a lens of somebody else's picture, right? You've got an alien taking out, potentially, like, you're not even comparing Superman to General Zod here, because they didn't know what General Zod was capable of. Superman knew that, so he took out General Zod, and nobody's like, oh, General Zod was a bad guy. Like,
Yeah, I think it's, and there are other points that are kind of valid, I think, too. Like one guy toward the beginning says, can we really be holding Superman to our rules? Which is an interesting thing,
mhm.
because like he's extremely powerful, and his little, like, two Supermen basically destroyed an entire city because what did what would because what else could he do? You can't it becomes a little weird, which is why it comes a little weird to me that we criticize Superman for running through a building when there's an alien there who would have just killed everyone on Earth. Is Superman perhaps not doing everything he needs to do? Maybe, but I don't think he's doing something wrong. I don't think he's responsible for those deaths per se.
You're getting so much sides of the argument in this that it is a lot to think about all at once.
Yeah, I don't really blame people for not having a great version of it in the first watch. God knows my first opinion of it after my first watch was very different than my opinion of it at like watch 7 or 6.
How many times have you seen this movie?
That's probably a pretty accurate statement, 5 or 6.
Okay, I've seen it once, twice now.
Yeah.
So,
Next we get the wheelchair, the guy in the wheelchair, Wally, is getting bailed out of prison.
mhm.
Turns out he's been bailed out by Lex Luthor, who is doing this so that Wally can testify at the Senate hearing on Superman, which is upcoming. Superman has also been invited to this hearing. Next, we get Perry chewing out Clark for not doing his assigned work and instead doing this story on the Batman, which is a bit weird considering that in the comics Superman can type at 2,000 words a minute. So like he could easily be doing all three of these things. Oh yeah, no, he can type at super speed. It's been made a point several times. He can do his work. He does his like day job work in like an hour, and then spends all day flying around being Superman.
No.
Yeah, that's part of how he maintains a secret identity.
Does Superman sleep?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he sleeps, but he's able to like do his work in an hour. I think that's always been kind of stated. That's why he's not late all the time like Spider-Man. Perry says, Perry, who is the editor-in-chief of Superman's workplace, the Dairy Planet, for those who don't know, he points out that it's not 1938 anymore. He can't be. No one cares about Clark Kent taking on the Batman. So he decides that Superman should take on the Batman, which I kind of like how this is going. This movie has a strange acknowledgement of the fact that like no one reads papers anymore, and they're just trying to keep afloat. And Clark really doesn't have the storytelling weight that Lois has yet, because Lois just gets to do whatever she wants to a degree, whereas Clark has to do whatever he's told. So that's an interesting little bit of. He gets a bit more senior. She has a lot more senior reporting status, and this is actually probably one of my favorite portrayals of Lois Lane in live action, because like I've talked about before about how I like 1940s cartoon Lois Lane, who's just a complete badass, and we're not quite here with that, but she does have a little bit of a pushy attitude, and it approaches that at very least, which is very nice. I don't know. It's difficult to get good Lois Lane portrayals nowadays. And she's had like years of not being who she's supposed to be. Like the 50s ruined comics. The 50s are as bad as the 90s for comics. So next, Bruce Wayne confronts the mysterious woman who returns the hard drive that she got from Lex Luthor, revealing that she was not able to hack into it, and she would need help to get into it either way. And that Lex Luthor has stolen a photograph of hers, whatever that means. Dum dum dum. So Bruce Wayne takes the drive home and starts decrypting it, an effort that takes long enough for him to fall asleep during it. And we get a dream sequence in which he fights off a bunch of Superman goons and also parademons, which are, for those of you who don't know, the foot troopers of Apocalypse in the comics, which serve the new god Darkseid, who's a big fucking deal in DC Comics. He's the Thanos of the DC universe. Essentially. This is incredibly confusing, because I get the Superman stuff. That's obviously part of a dream sequence, because that's what he's having anxiety about at the moment. As for all the apocalyptic imagery, like the parademons, and also there's an Omega symbol, which is used to represent Darkseid, that seems to be a glimpse of the future. So I think it's kind of blending the two, which is as a result of the next little bit where he awakes in the start and sees the Flash running toward him and telling him, you were right about him. Lois, find her. Find Lois Lane. She's the key. Oh God, I'm too soon. You were right about him. Bruce. You were always right about him. Fear him. Fear him. And then he goes back and then he's asleep again. And then he wakes up in a start.
He also says, "Find the stone."
So what I think happened? Find the stone. Yeah, that could be a reference to the mother box. That could be a reference to the mother box.
Reference to kryptonite.
Or that. Or Victor Stone, who is Cyborg.
Yes.
That could also... Oh, that's actually a very good one. He could be looking for Victor Stone, because he's actually fairly crucial in this, because he has one of the mother boxes in Justice League. So that's actually a fun little thought. Anyway, I think this dream sequence is a combination of his own anxieties and also the Flash trying to time travel to warn him of stuff in his dreams, which I guess is the medium in which the Speed Force is allowing him to go back in time to go meet him. And I'm an incredible nerd for even as following this as well as I have, and I'm barely following it. They should just cut out all the dream sequences for this movie. That would make it just way better. Take out all the dream sequences, put in the context stuff from Ziri. You can leave out the stuff from the crime lab because it's not terribly necessary, and leave in the drone strike at the beginning. But yeah, this is I think that's how you would have made a proper 2.5 hour ish cut of this movie. But then again, I'm not a film editor.
Or post-credit it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that could also be a thing. You could put this as the post-credits thing. Although DC doesn't do those as much. They've mitigated that to being Marvel's thing, which I don't care for. I don't watch them anyway, so I think if it's so crucial to the plot, it should be in the movie.
See, I feel like if you're setting something up, you should put it at the end.
Oh, the end of the movie. Just don't make me sit through the entire credit sequence. I want to go home.
They don't make you sit through the... Okay, some of them
Yeah,
do.
they do. Yes, they do. You gotta wait.
There's 2. Normally.
Yeah, because it's gotten so out of hand that they need 2 of them. And they gotta make me wait another 20 minutes at the end of this 2.5 hour movie. Because
only real Marvel fans wait till the end. That's the rules.
I've been reading comics for 20 years. I don't need any of this Marvel. I don't need any of this real Marvel fan shit. I've read more Spider-Man than you can possibly count. I buy comics every week. How many of these guys staying after the credits buy comics every week?
I don't know. Probably a fair share of them.
Not many. It's not that big of an industry.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Marvel fanboy industry or...
Oh, the Marvel fanboyism can go to hell, to be fair. It's they just gargle whatever Mickey Mouse spurts out. It's sometimes like, I mean, there's the obvious stuff that's bad that makes money, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's bad but's popular, like the Spider-Man movies, the Captain America Civil War. I don't really care for Thor Ragnarok all that much. I don't really care for Ant-Man 1.
Really?
While we're at it. Yeah, no, I don't really care
Ant-Man
for it.
1 more than I liked Ant-Man 2.
I mean, that's fair. I'm not really big advocating that Ant-Man 2 is this big masterpiece. I'm just it's a little weird. I take issue with the fact that our big white hero is being lured into a life of crime by this plucky band of minorities. Because that is happening in Ant-Man.
That's a weird hill to die on.
No, I'm not dying on it. I'm just saying it's a little weird that this is a scenario that I'm witnessing. It just seems a bit racist, and
Ant-Man was done good.
Yeah, Ant-Man's okay. I just it's not really my cup of tea. I don't really care for.
I think we've talked about Ant-Man on the podcast before.
No,
or maybe we did. And it was cut out.
Yeah, not really. I don't think so. I don't think we have. I'm only lukewarm on Guardians 2. Some of it's really good. Some of it's meh.
I don't think I've actually watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I've seen the first one.
There's good stuff. There's good stuff in it, and there's lame stuff in it. It's the beginning of the degradation of Drax's character. He's less funny as the films go on. Like, I didn't laugh at any of his jokes in like Infinity War and Endgame. Thought they were dumb. And some of the jokes are pretty dumb in the MCU. Like, I think there's room for like a middle ground between the dumb jokes of the MCU and the darkness of the DCEU. Like, I think, which is why I think I like Shazam so much, is because it takes itself seriously and the jokes aren't fucking stupid.
It's kind of why I like Spider-Man so much.
Yeah, I don't like the new Spider-Mans, really.
Yeah.
I prefer the older ones that actually include his origin story.
Because the origin story.
Yes, you do. It's part of the movie. It's his entire fucking character motivation. It's his character motivation. You can't just lead it out.
Yeah, but we know his character motivation, and we've known his character motivation since the first time I've read fucking Spider-Man. He wants to... Great power comes great responsibility. I've seen it so many times that, like...
You've seen it twice.
It feels...
You've seen it twice. That's... We've seen like Batman's parents get shot like
Well,
5 times and no one complains.
yeah, but that's because Batman's character reboots itself a lot.
I mean, Spider-Man's character's rebooted himself 3 times. That's about the same amount.
3 times. No.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan's
Well,
Batman. There was Jack Nicholson's Batman. I don't know if that's Tim Burton's Batman.
Tim Burton, Schumacher Batman. Yeah. And now we got the new one, so it's 3
There's
times.
been so many Batmans. Ben Affleck's Batman, and then you have Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Which may be completely different. We may just see that. We
Well,
may
it
see...
It is completely different because they recast Lieutenant Jim Gordon, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they had J.K. Simmons playing him in Justice League.
Which I like J.K. Simmons because he played...
J. Jonah, yeah.
Yeah, in the original Spider-Man series. And also in the new Spider-Man. He's kind of been...
Yeah, he was in that
typecast
briefly,
as-
yeah. I'm kind of sad we never got to see Stan Lee play J. Jonah, because that's a little bit of a joke around the office, is that they all kind of treated J. Jonah Jameson like it was a lot of how some people viewed Stan Lee a little bit. Like, obviously that's a brash caricature, but still, it's kind of a loudmouth guy, and I think that would have been fun to see him play. Oh yeah, so the data from the hard drive's been decrypted, and Batman finds Diana's photograph, which reveals that she is Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, who is not public knowledge in this universe, but it shows a picture of her in World War One, and we get our first glimpse of that badass Wonder Woman intro music, which is amazing. I love the Wonder Woman intro music. It's the best. I don't know. I butchered it.
Everything on electric violin sounds really good.
I'm sorry, Junkie XL. I butchered your track. Or Hans Zimmer, whoever did that. It was a collaboration.
I couldn't tell you.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah. He's also received the information that the White Portuguese is a boat, which makes sense.
Yes.
That sounds like a boat name in retrospect. And this is the boat which is carrying the kryptonite. Alfred gives Bruce a little bit of shit about planning to go to war with Superman, because that's what he's out to do. He points out that, like, hey, he may be good now, but how many good guys are left after all this time? And if he's so powerful that if there's even a 1% chance he could turn on us, we have to treat it as a certainty. Which a lot of people have taken issue with this line, but I think it makes sense, because anytime, like I'll ask Cody, I'll ask you this question: why does Superman beat Batman?
No, well, he's just stronger than Batman.
He could fly at him at the speed of sound and then lift him into space so that Batman's head would explode in orbit. And it's like realistically, if Superman really wanted to, he could just do that, and then Batman would be screwed. So they have that's where he's coming from. So I think this line has been given a lot more scrutiny than it deserves.
Well, it takes a very different look at the silver bullet idea, right?
Yeah.
He's like, we need to cut him out by the roots. And then Lex Luthor is like, well, we need a deterrent against Batman.
Superman. But yeah, I think Batman is kind of exposing the idea of look, a deterrent doesn't work if he can just do it before you can even pull the trigger. If the silver bullet doesn't work if the guy's already behind you and has already stabbed you in the back.
Well, I came up with this argument a long time ago, and I asked a couple of people, I said, who would win in a fight, Batman or Spider-Man? Because Batman's thing is he preemptively knows everything that's going to happen, but Spider-Man has spider senses, which is preemptively a reaction to... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a valid thing. That's often been cited as the reason that Spider-Man would win, is that he has the spider sense and he could react before Batman could pull off his thing. Obviously, the spider sense doesn't always work, but
or to varying degrees, depending on what.
so the kryptonite lands in Gotham Harbor illegally, and Batman goes on a car chase against it, which involves him running down a bunch of people, killing a bunch of people, and he almost gets the kryptonite, except that Superman flies in ahead of him, stands ahead of him, and causes the Batmobile to slam into him and then slam into the thing. So this chase has been interrupted. Superman tears open the lid of the Batmobile and tells Bruce to stop this, that to stop the Bat stuff, and that he should consider this mercy, and that he's just being given a mandatory retirement. And then Batman responds, "Do you bleed? You will." Which I like this scene a bit. I think Superman actually comes off a bit harsh in it. You disagree. You think the Superman line is actually very good.
I like the Superman line. I don't like Batman's response. I find that like Superman comes in, he portrays a really good line, and then Batman's like, he completely ignores everything that Superman says, and he's like, "Will you bleed?" Like it just, to me, it's like just a dumb response to a pretty decent. And with that being said, Superman cannot, like, Batman's been in the game for 20 years now at this point. Superman's this newcomer on the block. Superman would easily destroy Batman theoretically, but
especially right now without
he also doesn't know. Well, he doesn't know what he's going up against. So I think yeah. With that being said, I think Superman definitely overestimates Batman at this point, because he's never gone up against anybody who doesn't just fight with their fists like Batman does. He uses his mind, right?
Yeah.
He just fought General Zod, and General Zod just kind of punched at him. Like,
yeah,
that was the extent of the fight. But yeah, he could have just straight up one punched him at that point in time in the face.
and
Nothing.
And there is an argument
doesn't.
saying that he should. Yeah, because I mean, if you're like, say a cop pulls you over, and he's just like, okay, I'm gonna let you home on a warning. I'm gonna let you go with a warning. Just drive slower next time. And you're like, piss off, you pig. You're going into jail and you're getting that ticket. So
what I was going to say there is, if Superman applied Batman's logic there, Batman would be dead. Because Batman's whole thing in this movie is, I need to take out Superman so Superman will never be a threat. And Superman was like, I'm going to show you this one sense of mercy. You're no longer a hero, right?
And it's entirely, you could easily just like report Bruce to the feds too, to a degree, or like break into the Batcave and like destroy all the equipment, make this all very hard for him. But yeah, he doesn't do it, which maybe he should be. But,
well, I don't actually think Superman places the fact that Batman is Batman, or Bruce Wayne is Batman. I think he knew something shady was going on.
No, he knows. He
with
knows.
the comlink.
Yeah, I think he knows. I'm very sure he knows, because he also refers to him as Bruce later in the movie, and he doesn't like go to the Batcave to go check that out. Yeah, I'm very certain he knows.
And once again, this is why I think a lot of people disagree with this whole movie so much, is because it's 2 hours leading up to this, an hour for maybe a 15-minute fight, and then, you know, them getting along for a bit and then fighting Darkseid. It's kind of a letdown for such a big build up that just kind of never really comes to fruition. At least when like Civil War was a thing, they did it over, the course of 2-3 movies, sowed dissension in Age of Ultron and stuff like that, and then built it up. They built up this fight over, 3-4 movies. Well, Batman v Superman just kind of like dropped this scenario into your lap and was like, "This is how it is." They didn't do any preemptive backstory to Ben Affleck's Batman. They shoehorned in the Justice League, and they did it over so much, like 1 3-hour long movie, which should have been done over a whole couple of other series, like Wonder Woman, because that came out before,
Just after.
after this.
This
Yeah,
came out. Yeah, this
yeah.
came out in like late March 2016, and Wonder Woman came out in like August 2016.
And I felt like Wonder Woman was more of backstory into Wonder Woman's character, more towards that, and it really had no bearing on the DC universe as much, except for introducing the villain. Correct?
Not really. They introduced. I
Because
think it's
Ares not like the villain in the Justice League?
no. It's Steppenwolf as the villain in Justice League.
But Steppenwolf has a big tie-in to what's her face's Wonder Woman's character, correct?
No. What we
Okay.
get is
I thought there was a
Steppenwolf
connection
points
there.
out. Yeah.
Been a while.
No. Yeah, there is an argument to be made, like, oh, this movie should have come out like after 3 other movies, and I'm like, I get that, but at the same time, fuck it. I don't care about like waiting 10 years to watch this movie. Like that scenario places this movie getting made in like 2020. So I don't care. I'm not interested in like setting up different things. And I think it almost does work in this thing's favor, because if you were do like the Wonder Woman movie before this, it kind of like spoils it. And it kind of like I like the setup of Batman being the lone superhero for years. I don't like I think this movie might be better with time as like we get more stuff in the DCEU, but
Yeah.
I don't think that insisting that Warner Brothers make 4 other movies in advance is a particularly
Well, you don't even have to do like 4 movies. What I was saying is you could have probably done a better job even with a Batman backstory arc and try and tie that in as much as possible too. Maybe not just do like you have the Batcave and you see that scenario in the beginning where there's like that sprawling thing across or Batman's chest written by the Joker and stuff like that. You could have done something with that. You could have done something with the death of Dick Grayson, just to show where Ben Affleck's character is in this movie, and it could have been done well, and it could have been done.
I mean, I agree, but I think maybe they should have just done a Batman prequel to this. But I don't think you could have swung that in 2015, because they'd just come off Christopher Nolan's series, and people would have bitched about that because they would have been like, "Oh, we just got a Batman movie and we're getting a new whole thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." Ugh, I don't know. It's such an exhausting prospect at this point, talking about it, like whether what Warner Brothers business decisions should have been done, and I just don't have a lot of patience for it at this point after 4 years.
I mean, cut out Suicide Squad. Maybe don't do a Birds of Prey movie. Just kind of.
I like the Birds of Prey movie though.
I've never seen it, so I mean,
It's all right.
I'm not exactly a
You can cut out Suicide Squad though, all right. It's not it doesn't do much. I
Jared
think
Leto's Joker was not great.
Oh, he was in the movie for 5 minutes. Suck it up. I
Yeah,
mean,
really bad 5
I
minutes.
it wasn't that bad. It was
It
5
was that bad.
minutes. It wasn't.
It was totally that bad.
It was not. It was whatever. That's what reminds me of a joke. When they announced that like Jared Leto was going to be in the Morbius movie, I'm like, wait, he was only in like Blade Runner for like 20 minutes, for like 5 minutes, and that movie was like 3 hours long. How is he going to star in a movie if he's only allowed to be in a movie for 5 minutes?
I mean, he was a good singer, I'll give him that much.
Yeah, what's his band again? I don't remember.
30 Seconds to Mars.
Oh, I mean, I've only 30 minutes. Anyway, where are we? All right, so yeah, at this point, the hearing with Superman about the Superman incident has officially been announced. In the lead up, a Ziri who has gone to confess something to the Senator June, and earlier in the movie we had seen her like look off, like try to take the bus home, and then go back onto the bus and keep driving. And also that she hadn't been to her apartment in some time. It turns out she's been running from KG Beast a bit, keeping scares from him, and she confesses to Senator June that she lied about what happened in Nairobi, and Lex Luthor had paid her to do it. So she knows this. In the meantime, she is taking a subway somewhere, and she gets pushed into the subway by KG Beast. As we're doing this, as the night before the hearing, Superman has a conversation with his mom where she tells him that he doesn't necessarily owe the world anything, and that he has to do what he thinks is and that he should do what he thinks he needs to, and that he doesn't have to do anything. Which some people might take issue with it, but I think it maybe is something he needs to hear. But I think what makes Clark Kent in this movie heroic is that he is willing to do things for people. He is willing to help people despite screwing up along the way. And the fact that he is showing up to this hearing is a little bit of a testament to this character. Maybe not living up to the legend of the Man of Tomorrow, but it is a good sign. It is something he should be doing. So they show up to the hearing. They start the hearing. Senator June starts giving a speech when she notices that a funny smelling jar is sitting on her desk. She turns it around. It says Granny's Peach Tea, which is an allusion to a conversation she had with Luthor earlier in the movie, where she had said, "Oh, you can call the kryptonite a deterrent if you want, but it's nonsense. But I'm not going to drink. You can call it deterrent. You can call the kryptonite a deterrent if you want. You can call piss a jar of piss Granny's Peach Tea. I'm not going to drink it." And some people think this is a dumb joke. I think it is in character, but I don't think. Yeah, maybe they could have gone with something else, but it is a certain kind of unprofessional that we're not used to from Lex Luthor characters. Although, to be fair, he is a corporate supervillain, and scarcely those people are actually all that professional. So she realizes something's wrong. Her eyes are driven to the fact that Lex Luthor's seat is empty. His bodyguard secretary Mercy is there, though, so he's mercilessly killing her in this. And then her eyes go to Wallace, whose wheelchair promptly explodes, killing everyone in the room except for Superman, and injuring several other people in the building. Superman helps out for a little bit after the explosion, but he eventually leaves being with a bit of an ashamed expression on his face. He points out later that he's afraid he didn't see it because he wasn't looking, and that he should have done something to help that. And to be fair, it may not be entirely valid, but I mean, having having 100 people die directly next to you is scarcely going to bring up productive emotions in you. Meanwhile, Batman had seen a hearing over CNN. He sees Wallace doing a big clip, and Wallace tells a story about how he's been losing his way and losing and that he was abandoned and everyone left him behind, and that causes Bruce to look up all the checks that check on his, essentially a sort of injury fund for Wallace, which he had set up. It turns out all of the checks that he's been sending Wallace have been returned with big scary red writing on them, telling him to wake up and to be suspicious of Superman. And the last one, the most recent one, reads, "You let your family die." So yeah, so that's been a thing. So apparently, I guess this and then follow that up with the explosion at Congress. Bats goes on a rampage, an off-screen rampage, and he steals the kryptonite.
Yes.
At this point, many people believe that Soups is at least culpable in the explosion at Congress, which is bad. This begins the final act of the movie, gets us right toward squeezing up against the final act of the movie. Lex accesses the wreck and mixes Zod's body with some of his blood, beginning the process of creating a Kryptonian abomination of some sort, is what they say. I forget the exact word they used for it. He cut from this to Batman doing a training montage and getting his kryptonite weapons ready. He has made some kryptonite grass grenades and a kryptonite spear as he does exercise. Superman, in the meantime, is real depressed and he's on a mountain attempting to freeze to death, is the short version. And he has a flashback, and he has sort of a hallucination slash flashback of a story, I assume a story his father had told him about a flood, which he had to dig a trench around to save his farm, but it ended up diverting the water into someone else's farm, causing all that farm's horses to drown. So that's a bit of a so that's a thing that's keeping in his mind. Jonathan Kent throughout this series has been a bit of a creature to create doubt in Superman's mind, which is a bit atypical and a somewhat out of character for based on other works, which I will grant. I mean, I get that people don't necessarily like this. I appreciate the larger product, but I understand the complaints in regards to Jonathan Kent. Meantime, Lois Lane and Martha Kent are kidnapped by goons. We had a bit of a plot hole because KG Beast kidnaps Lois, but ends up in the group that's hiding Martha Kent. So, yeah, that's a bit of a plot hole or a plot weirdness. So Lex Luthor has a conversation with Lois Lane on the LexCorp Towers helipad, where Lois reveals that she's found out what Lex Luthor did. Lex Luthor proceeds to push her off a cliff, push her off the edge of the tower, causing Superman to fly in and go save her, so that he can lure Superman here. So I actually really like this confrontation a little bit. Lex reveals that he knows Superman's identity. He also reveals that he's been manipulating Batman this whole time. He's the one that's been causing the letters to that were going to Wallace to get returned with the scary red lettering. so that he could manipulate him into going crazy and fighting Superman, because that's a way to do it. I'm guessing this is because Lex Luthor doesn't have a way to make a fancy Superman fighting robot or something, and also because Batman is admittedly one of the most dangerous men on Earth. So put the kryptonite in the hands of the most capable person and give him a good
Yeah.
reason to kill Superman. And possibly he's been manipulating things for longer than this. I mean, the terrifying implication would be that he set up the incident that resulted in that Robin's death by Joker. So that could be a thing. I've always had my 10 canon revolves around Lex Luthor being responsible for a lot of things in the DC universe, and I think this kind of fits with his character. So Lex Luthor reveals that he is going to kill Martha Kent in 1 hour unless Batman kills or Superman kills Batman. So he has to go kill Batman. He goes over to Gotham before telling Lois that what he's doing, and that I don't know what to do. No one stays good in this world, and I think this brings him to like his perhaps his darkest point in the movie. So Lois goes to the planet. She requests a helicopter to take her to Gotham. We get a scene of Diana receiving the contents of the drive, and we get our first reveal of all the guys who are going to be in the Justice League, primarily Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg, which we'll not comment on here because we got better things to do. So Superman flies up and he finds Batman, who is trying to lure Superman to Gotham with his bat signal, which Superman told him specifically not to shine. And the fights, and they have a confrontation. Superman tries to talk to Bruce, but Bruce starts wailing on him with traps as soon as he shows up. And this is a bit of a criticism that this entire fight could have been avoided with like a 20-second conversation. But I mean, two things. One, Batman's not in the right mind, which is the small point. And then two, this is classic comic books. They frequently have misunderstandings to lead to fight. This is like modus operandi for superhero fights. So they fight, they fight, and they fight, and they fight, and they fight. Eventually, Batman fires two of his gas grenades, eventually bringing Superman into a dazed state in which he is able to just wail on him and sets him up to be stabbed with a spear, all while giving a very intense speech about how Superman, about his presumptions about who Superman is, and what the death of his parents taught him is that the world only makes sense when you make it. And I think this is demonstrative of something that one homeless character had told Clark Kent earlier in the movie, is that he's at a point Batman's at a point where he only understands that he's angry and he doesn't understand anything. He had also had an encounter with the girlfriend of the guy who had been branded at the beginning of the movie, who ended up dead via one of Lex Luthor's goons, or had been arranged to be killed by Lex Luthor. Turns out Luthor's been killing all the people that got bat brands. And that the girlfriend of that man told him that, hey, Batman only understands violence. He only understands beating people up. So it's understandable that actually Batman would be in a position where he wouldn't listen to reason. And I think this is too much for some Batman fanboys to take, because they're not willing to entertain the idea of a Batman who isn't perfect in every way. And this is really a danger with him. Like, a lot of people don't really conceive that he is a wounded person who needs probably help himself and is perhaps acting in a, like, there's been a lot of talk late in the over the years of how Batman is crazy, but I think this is actually the most interesting manifestation of that, in that Batman has fallen within his character. He's become most of the bad things that people could accuse him of. He is just beating people up instead of trying to help them. He's not trying to make the world a better place. He's just trying to keep people in line. He's just beating people up. He's not helping people. He's just fighting.
If he's not straight up just killing them.
Yeah, even then. I think I don't know that him killing people is a thing that he was doing the entire time. And perhaps this is also a universe where people he fights dies. Like, realistically, there's going to be like a fight later in the movie where a guy tries to pull a grenade and Batman throws the guy at the guy with a grenade, and that grenade explodes, killing them. But is that Batman's fault? Is he supposed to jump across the room to disarm the grenade and get himself killed? I don't know. But I think he's trying to. I think he's been drifting past incidental killings for a long time, and I think it's entirely reasonable that if like you drew up a warrant for Batman, you'd probably have a couple murder charges on there, if not stuff that he had purposely done, stuff that he had inadvertently done. But I think he's gone past that at this point, and he needs to be pulled back to the light. So yeah, as he's about to, and he's about to reach peak fascist at this point. He's about to kill an innocent man because he's afraid of him upsetting the status quo, and he's not trusting Superman to be a good man, or at least not exploring the option that Superman could perhaps be a good person. I find it a little difficult to believe that or I find it a little I almost have like a little theory that perhaps Jared Leto's Joker isn't the first Joker. That because I have a bit of a hard time believing that this Batman wouldn't have killed the Joker, or at least wouldn't have or at least that he wouldn't have gotten or at least that he's actively trying to defend himself. I think he's very much at the point of in Dark Knight Returns where he's just like, dealing with him is easier than I have made it, and he's forgotten that he shouldn't be killing people. I think if Jared Leto's Joker is the original Joker in this universe, I think he is escaping through pure skill. Before he lands the final blow, Superman speaks up and he's just like, "Save Martha!" And this confuses Batman, and he asks why. He screams, "Why did you say that name?" At this point, Lois arrives, and she says it's his mother's name. At which point, Batman stumbles back, drops the spear, and has a big "What have I done?" moment. And I think this is where it clicks in his head that, holy shit, what am I doing? Just killing this guy. This isn't who I'm supposed to be. I'm become what I hate. And I don't think a lot of people get that.
Still a dumb line.
Fuck. I'm not gonna. God damn it. I think I thought it was clever from the beginning. I was like, I remember seeing that in the theater. I'm like, oh yeah, they have their mothers have the same name. That's a thing. And he's reminded, this scene reminds him of why he doesn't kill people. It's because, hey, bad guys have families too. You did this originally because you didn't want anyone to end up like you. And he had forgotten that. So I think there is a valid story reason behind it. I don't know what to tell you if you don't get it at this point, or if you don't accept it at this point.
And I just came here to watch a fight between Batman and Superman, and then just gonna give all this dumb exposition at me, and then that's how you gotta look at it coming into it. Is they promised you a fight between Batman and Superman, and they like just tickled your balls a little bit.
I mean, this is probably as long as it was ever gonna be. That's not. I don't see how they could have made it.
They could have killed one of them.
I mean, they did kill one of them. It's it's just not in the fight.
They didn't kill one of them. Batman didn't kill one of them.
The movie killed one of them, though. They didn't kill each other.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I think that would have really. I think that would have pissed people off more if like Batman had killed Superman or Superman had killed Batman. I think that is the worst scenario as far as comic book fans are concerned.
And I mean, this fight was always so one-sided when you actually watch the fight sequence.
Yeah, he is. I think it's very skin of the teeth. I think Batman just barely pulls it off, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like he gets knocked around quite a bit, and I think like if
like there was a scene where Batman was punching Superman, and he punches him once, twice, 3 times, and you could see the exact moment that the like the gas had worn off.
At least like mostly, yeah.
And his jaw just snaps into place, and then he just starts pounding on Batman. Right?
Oh yeah, I think there's a variant. Like, I think this entire fight kind of proved Batman wrong about things because, yeah, if Superman wanted Batman dead, if Superman was like this evil thing that needed to be destroyed, he would have been dead already. Like, I think Zod would have given Batman this kind of chance. So Bruce agrees to save Martha while Superman goes to investigate a growing power surge from the Kryptonian crash site, where, as I mentioned, Lex is beginning to prepare the Kryptonian abomination. I seriously don't think that's what they called it, because Abomination is a Marvel villain.
I don't know what they actually called it.
I forget. They called it like the Desecration Without Name, I know. Which I mean it makes I don't always agree with them dancing around what the supervillain's name is, but I think in this case it makes sense because like who names something Doomsday? Like as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So weird.
Well, it was like
so yeah,
Luthor was like Luthor named it.
Yeah, he just name drops about Doomsday, and because that's what it is. But it's not yeah. Anyway, Bruce takes the Batwing and goes to save Martha, which he does. It's a very nice fight scene. He rips off a scene from Dark Knight Returns where he fires a machine gun and stops a guy from killing a hostage, which was Martha in this case. So, yeah, there's a couple scenes just ripped straight from Dark Knight Returns, which I get. Zach's obviously a big Frank Miller fan. He had adapted 300, if we remember correctly. So that happens. Lois throws the kryptonite spear in a well in a church where they had been fighting. Superman confronts Lex Luthor as Lex Luthor unleashes Doomsday. Diana gets off a plane in order to deal with the Doomsday, who has just showed up and is rampaging across the city. Doomsday and Superman end up wrecking the Superman monument. Superman gets thrown across the city into a building. Doomsday jumps on top of Lex Tower. He is shot at by attack helicopters and lets out a solar flare, which is one of the New 52 Superman superpowers. It's not stated that's what it is. I'm just extrapolating because solar flare is a extension of Superman's heat vision, and yeah. I'm guessing that's what happens. And it's not a 1-to-1 translation, but solar flare is kind of a dumb power anyway. It was just an excuse to depower Superman for a couple weeks. So Superman charges at Doomsday, takes him into orbit. The U.S. government fires a nuke at them. Superman holds Doomsday in place, causing the nuke to hit him. Doomsday re-enters. Superman floats in space, all irradiated, until the sun eventually heals him and he's able to return to the fight sometime later. It is then clear at this point to the American government that Doomsday cannot be killed by conventional means. Batman has deduced that the thing's Kryptonian from seeing the solar flare, so he is going to go retrieve the spear, which he does unsuccessfully when Doomsday knocks down the Batwing and is just about to kill him with heat vision when Wonder Woman jumps in front of the heat vision and saves his ass. Meanwhile, Lois goes to retrieve the spear for some reason. I don't think anyone told her to do that. So after a bit of a fight between Wonder Woman and Doomsday, Superman shows up and knocks him into an oil processing plant, which explodes like a motherfucker. Don't worry. This time the dock is abandoned, so no one's getting hurt. So there's no need to worry, delicate viewers, that people are getting hurt in this goddamn alien invasion. I know that's too harsh for the American people to understand, that a tragedy would befall people and perhaps innocent people might die in the process. And I know they just can't handle it, so they need to blame the heroes for it. Anyway, after a few solar flares, Doomsday's bones properly come out. They didn't come out initially, and the vision of him without bones was in the trailer, and that got a lot of people mad because they were like, why doesn't Doomsday have bones? He should have bones. And this is why you don't fucking watch trailers, kids, because it's just going to give you an inaccurate depiction of the movie. Which is why I don't watch them, because I don't fucking review advertising.
You're a film critic.
So they fight. Yeah, I don't review advertising. I review films.
Yes, but through extension, advertisement is part of the film.
No, it's not. It's like, do I have to go back and watch the... Would you expect me to go back and watch a trailer for Nosferatu? No, because it doesn't exist. It's like, why would I preclude advertising as part of my critique of the film?
Because that's how you hype up a film.
Yeah, but I'm not an expert in advertising, so I don't know how to.
If I came to you and I said, "Hey, have you seen the Batman v Superman trailer? It's showing some really good promises to act." Like, I brought this up with the Batman trailer because Robert Patterson's not Robert Patterson.
Who cares?
Yes, Robert Patterson. Whatever his name is, Twilight Phantom Boy.
Edward Cullen.
Yes. His trailer just dropped, and I said, "Hey, have you seen this?" And you're like, "No, because I don't watch advertisements." And I'm like, "Oh, it's really good. It's showing some promise to there being a decent new Super Batman movie coming out." And you're like, "Yeah, but I don't review advertisements."
I mean, I thought that The Dark Knight Rises was going to be pretty good based on the trailer. It wasn't, because Dark Knight Rises is shit.
That's a different story for another time.
My point is, you can make a good trailer for a bad movie, and you can make a bad trailer for a good movie, but I can't tell that from the advertisement. The only way I can judge the merit of the film...
know that because you haven't watched the advertisement.
Yeah, and as soon as the film's out, no one cares about the advertisement. Because, who's such a weirdo that they're going to go back and watch a trailer for a movie that came out in 1980? You wouldn't. You just, you might do it out of curiosity, but you don't actually care.
That's how you sell hype, though.
Yeah, I think as advertising, and I'm just going to watch these superhero movies automatically, so it doesn't even apply to me. They're not for me.
They're
for other people who might go into the movie.
that I wouldn't watch because I haven't seen the trailer.
Oh, sure. But especially in this case, I wouldn't. The only thing watching like the Batman trailer is just going to be like, oh, that's just going to tell me what's in the movie before I go watch it, and I kind of want to be surprised because I like being surprised in a movie.
Yeah,
And
but you're not going
what
to
a
get
better
any
way to do that
spoilers
is to
from a trailer.
Yeah, it does because it shows you like action scenes in the movie. Like I go into some movies, like superhero movies, not knowing who the villain is, and
That just
makes the
seems
film
like
better. I think.
like complete lack of paying attention on your behalf.
Yeah, because I block out the news because I want to be more surprised. I want to see what happens. I don't want preconceived notions. I want to absorb the film for what it is. And trailers can be transformative. Like, is the trailer for Suicide Squad representative of what's in the actual movie? Not really.
I don't remember the last time I've seen the trailer for Suicide Squad.
Yeah. And like, what even is a good trailer? Is it something that's going to tell you what's in the
So
movie,
what
or
you're
is it something
saying
that's going to make the movie look good?
But what you're saying is you've seen the trailer to Suicide Squad.
Like I've seen like some movie things, but I don't remember what happened in it.
So you do watch trailers.
Like it before movies when I can't look away. I'm not gonna go to the bathroom for 20 minutes in the beginning before I watch every movie.
Well,
And that's the only place I see trailers.
what I'm saying is, did you walk away from your movie going experience and say to yourself, hey, Suicide Squad looks half decent? Or did you say, hey, Suicide Squad is undeterminately dumb and should probably be avoided because that's a really bad concept?
I mean, I thought Suicide Squad was disappointing because you think in a movie called Suicide Squad, some of the squad would die, and they
But
don't. Really?
You've read Suicide Squad as a comic, did you not?
Yeah.
So you knew what
Sometimes.
Suicide Squad was about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did anybody die in the actual Suicide comic?
All the fucking time. Yeah,
Yeah.
people die in Suicide Squad all the goddamn time. It's the premise. It's the premise of the show.
It happened in the movie too.
Yeah, like twice, and then one of them didn't even matter.
Captain Boomerang, like, I don't know, 40 minutes into the film,
he
gets
lived.
his head blown off.
No, that's Slipknot, and
Slipknot.
And no one cared about Slipknot. He was just an extra
No.
guy they put in to get killed.
Pretty much.
Yeah. My point is, the second I watch the movie, I no longer care about the trailer either way.
But the trailer sold you on the movie.
I mean, sometimes if it's not a superhero movie and I haven't watched the trailer because I don't want to be spoiled on stuff. Like at the point where I'm sold on a movie or that I've committed to going to a movie, why would I watch any more advertising for it at that point?
Yeah, I've got nothing for that.
That's been Kyle and Cody's advertising hour. Remember, advertising is corporate propaganda to deceive you. Wink. I don't know. Why did I wink? I don't know. Go ahead.
This is a audio podcast. Nobody would have known if you winked or not. Until you said
I didn't
wink.
I just said wink. Yeah, no, it's so as a result of some of the clashing, Lois gets trapped in a well when the building collapses on top of it. Superman hears her struggling, so he goes to save her. He retrieves the spear and flies at Doomsday to kill him, which results in him getting stabbed after Wonder Woman had cut off his hand, resulting in it regrowing in a single bone spike, which Doomsday uses to stab Superman with, and he uses the bone for leverage, and then they both end up dying and impaling each other. This scene has been criticized because they're like, oh, he should have thrown the spear to Wonder Woman. And I'm like, was there time for that? Also, he didn't know about the spike hand. Like, he makes a big deal about, like, I love you, Lois. I don't know if I'll live through this. And he's like, but on the other hand, he could have survived. If anything, you cut out the, if anything, you should probably cut out the part where he's telling Lois he loves her. And maybe replace it with him, like, giving her CPR or something. Or maybe set it up so that he's about to do his... Actually, he is about to do his solar flare. And he's just been hit by the kryptonite dust, so there's not actually a lot of time here. So
Yeah.
he's just flying over there to do things. So I think this criticism is one of which is overblown, which is some of this stuff is valid, or at least I understand. Like some of the Superman Batman criticism is like stuff that's like, okay, I admit this is a high concept thing that people won't understand, especially on first viewing, especially with the theatrical cut, which is inherently inferior. But like some of the stuff is just petty, like this. Like I've heard people complain about like, oh, Batman should have instantaneously know who Superman was at the first glance. And that's not a criticism. That's just you making up a reason to hate the movie. But yeah, anyway. So Doomsday and Superman both die. Lex Luthor is confronted by Steppenwolf, who leaves holding 3 mother boxes, and he looks all intimidated. This was left out of the theatrical cut, which makes his speech in about 5 minutes, where he's just like, they have seen us. They know that God is dead. They're coming for us. Ding, 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 ding. It makes it even more confusing than it already fucking is. So that was a bad cut. Or if it wasn't ready, they should have made it ready. Or done something else. It was more mandatory than the Flash scene. Yeah.
They're making it so you like have to actually extrapolate stuff.
Yeah, which I'm cool with, but others aren't. Also, you could have just done this instead of the Flash scene. I imagine it's a similar amount of money. Maybe. I don't know anything about visual effects.
Or you could have taken out the whole dream sequence and just left the Flash scene in.
Yeah, that's also true. You could go either or.
They showed Batman fighting goons for like 5 minutes or like 2 or 3 minutes in that scene.
In that scene's defense, Warner Brothers might have insisted that that might not have been able to be cut even if Zack Snyder had wanted to cut it, because this movie doesn't have a ton of action. Like it's a little bit you get a little bit of stuff and then some action, but it's a bit slow in times, which I like, but I understand that people have demands on how much action is in the movie. So it might not have been an option to cut that either way.
Or just put Batman fighting goons in another.
I mean, that requires reshoots. And they've already shot this, so. So Lex Luthor goes to jail, gets captured by a bunch of people, gets his head shaved. We get scenes of Superman's 2 funerals. The one in Metropolis with like a shiny black casket and the 21 mortar salute. And one in Smallville with like a simple casket that Bruce Wayne is paying for, because least he can do. I like the little thing they do at the Metropolis burial site, where they've had to take down the monument because it got destroyed in the Doomsday fight. So they just spray paint, "If you seek his monument, look around you," which I think is a very neat little piece. And then Batman reveals that does a little bit of a monologue about how he failed Superman, that he needs to be better, and that he won't fail him in death, and that he's going to gather the Justice League based on a feeling, which, We also have a bit of a fade out to a couple heartbeats, which is nonsense, because that's not how he gets revived in Justice League. It's just a red herring. And the priest gives a really on-the-nose sermon, like his on-the-nose eulogy, where he's like, and something, and that God's people will rise from the earth, which is very on the nose.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably going to be 2 parts.
No, we're at what?
2 hours, 47 minutes, and we haven't done our ratings yet. So, what are you giving the movie, Cody?
I'd like to say, with a lot being said, it's not going to be the lowest score I've probably ever given it. The theater, like the Snyder cut, definitely was a boon. It gave it more clarity compared to the original cut. And once again, it was one of those movies that I had kind of written off where I said, hey, I've seen this already. I don't think I'd ever sit down and do a rewatch, and I didn't think I'd sit down and do a rewatch it. What I'm saying is, if you have access to the Snyder Cut, definitely go give it a rewatch if that's what you're into. With that being said, I think I'm going to give it probably a 7 out of 10. And you could probably talk me up to even about an 8, because it has a lot of talking points on it. Once again, we just filled up at least 3 hours just talking about the movie. The runtime of the movie is 3 hours, right?
How does it? I'm just as a curiosity. How does this compare to the other 5 movies in the sub theme?
I'm drawing blanks on what movies we've actually done in a sub theme.
Son of the Mask, Big Daddy. I'll bring up my list.
Oh God,
that'll be easier. Rocky, Star Wars Episode 1, Rocky 4, Big Daddy, Son of the Mask, and Mommy Dearest. Let's go just best and worst.
Did we do the Phantom Menace?
Yeah, we did for Star Wars Day. Yeah, that was back in April or May. That was May the 4th.
Yeah, that explains it.
But yeah, what's your worst and best out of the 6?
Out of the 6?
Yeah, counting this.
I don't know. I'd put Star Wars up there. Probably Son of the Mask, Big Daddy, in no real particular order. Like I'd put. Sorry, I was just gonna say I'd probably put it in the top 3, maybe even first. But I'm not gonna deny that there were certain aspects of the movie that I could see them nominating them for a Golden Raspberry Award. Once again, I didn't really care for Lex Luthor or Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal of Lex Luthor, and I also didn't really care for Ben Affleck's portrayal of Batman because I found him very monotone and very broody.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it; it fits within the connotations of the movie, but I still would have liked to seen more, and it didn't. The movie itself didn't offer that.
Like, I get a lot of the complaints with this movie. I just think it's not the hollow thing that a lot of people have made it out to be. I think it is at least thought provoking. Even if you don't agree with all the things, I think the people insisting it be the next an Avengers style thing are wrong to insist that. Do I think that this maybe deserved to be $1 billion movie? No, I'm not going to say it should have been $1 billion movie that everyone was going to like and that all the rubes were going to watch. But I do think it's a valuable piece of superhero media that's at least better for being told.
Well, the way we look at everything is also a part of the budget and what it took away at the box office.
Yeah, and this did make its money back. Yeah, people call it a flop, which isn't necessarily true. It didn't make Avengers money, but it didn't make nothing. It did better than Justice League did. But yeah, as for my score, I'm giving it an 8 because I like it as like a taste this around, like a bit of wine. You like running it, like just sipping it, tasting it occasionally, thinking on its themes. Is it perfect? No. I think there's a lot of stuff that's bad in it, and like I think it could be. I've talked about how it could easily be reconstructed, but I mean, I don't know. This was my opportunity to get a lot of the stuff off my chest. This is kind of like my treat for doing 25 episodes, and this is a bit of my victory lap. Of like, oh yeah, I get to do my thing now.
And I think I only found one plot hole in it.
Yeah, it's tighter. It's a tighter plot than people think.
And that was the wheelchair scenario. Because it's never stated whether or not Lex Luthor knows that Superman can't see through lead.
I don't know. I think he has time to maybe experiment with that, possibly, because he knows who Superman is. I imagine there's some way he could have got a experiment going. But yeah, you got a point there. No, it's never stated how he would figure that out. And I think there are some problems with this in regards to like the way cinematic universes are put out. Like every instance of a cinematic universe is like a world-ending event. We never get any. We don't get a lot of downtime. Like in Captain America: Civil War, when Peggy dies, that doesn't have a lot of emotional hit because we haven't spent any time with Peggy post him coming out of the ice. So it doesn't mean much to her. Like we didn't get a ton of action with Peggy's with like an old Peggy. So that kind of robs us of that emotional investment. And I think it robs us of a lot of lesser, smaller scale Superman stories, which you would get in the comics. Like in the comics, you have Infinite Crisis, and you also have the regular books where you can do like a normal thing once an issue or whatever. So you get that balance, which is not something that's afforded by the cinematic universe format. As for the second thing I was talking about, of like how this brings out to the sub theme, I'm putting like this and then Star Wars Phantom Menace as my favorites. The worst for me is probably I can't decide. I don't remember what I gave these things either. I'm gonna go with Rocky 4. Rocky 4 is really fucking dumbly made. I just can't I need to pass forward through that movie pretty hard in future.
Yeah.
If I were ever like doing a thing.
I mean, Rocky 4 or Son of the Mask. I think.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our 25th episode. We're gonna be taking off a little bit of a hiatus. I'm expecting season 2 to start on the 20th of September. So that's you can the audience can keep an eye on that.
Start for us or start for them?
Start for them.
Okay.
I want to put out the episode. I want to put out the first episode of season 2 on September 20th. Ideally, that might get delayed if we're really behind.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a little bit of a teaser of season 2. We're going to be doing a lot of things. Our sub theme of the season is going to be the worst movies to win Best Picture. I won't reveal the whole list there. We're going to be visiting Brandon Steer again with his first movie, Animosity, and that'll be episode 1. So you can see that in a couple weeks. We're going to start with we got start with a Kevin Smith movie. We're obviously doing Toxic Avenger 2, which I'll put out in October. There's also going to be another Troma movie. We're going to be doing I've mentioned RoboCop 2. We're doing Goon. I've mentioned that. We got an anime movie, a romance, several musicals actually, against all odds. A Western or 2, some Christmas movies will obviously be a thing. The season will run from September to February, and then the finale will be in March. Got some Bollywood, got another canon film on the thing. I won't reveal what is. It doesn't star Chuck Norris. I don't think we have too much that's like really recent stuff. I think the most recent movie is
few.
Like, I don't think we have too. I guess we got we got a couple. I won't go into 2 of it, but we'll do Animosity on the 20th, and then the next weekend we will have the first episode visiting the sub theme, and that'll be with one of, and I'll reveal our 2 running minor co-hosts that are going to be on there. We're going to have returning guest Victoria Koops, you may remember from our last Unicorn review, and then we will have a friend of mine, Curtis, from Just Plain Universe. You can find him at his YouTube shows, The Smorgasbord, and also his web series, which is getting a continuation sometime. I don't know the exact time frame, but he did a successful Kickstarter for it. His series Pothead and Crackboy, which is a sort of a friendly neighborhood superhero shows. I don't want to give it too big a thing about it because I don't know what you want me to say, but it's really good. Go check it out at his YouTube channel. And remember, you can follow us at Kyle and Cody's Cult CinemaCast at Facebook, our Twitter at KC Cinema Pod, YouTube channel that's also named Kyle and Cody's called CinemaCast. Remember to like, comment, subscribe to the podcast, leave good reviews, circulate the links, and we will see you soon. Stay tuned for more information about more projects we're going to be working on. It's going to be a big month this fall. Some stuff we're maybe working on, stuff's in pre-production, but we will see you soon. Bye, kids. See you. Have a nice day. Goodbye.